everybody. My name's Meg Alexander, and I'm with Power to Fly. I'm so excited to be introducing our upcoming guest, Judy Huie. Judy is Vice President of DEI Business Officer at Freddie Mac, where she provides strategic oversight and management of their DEI programs, further embedding DEI into the enterprise's business practices. Now, Judy earned a bachelor's degree in accounting from Virginia Tech, as well as a master's degree in finance from American University. She was also named a 2021 HR Rising Star by HR Executive Magazine. Judy, I am so happy to get to share the stage with you today. Is there anything you'd like to share with our audience before we dive into questions?
Nope, I think we should dive right in, Meg.
Excellent. Okay. Now, one of the first things I wanted to talk about was a little bit about Freddie Mac. I feel like there's a lot of people that know the terms or know the names Sally Mae, Freddie Mac, but they might not know exactly what Freddie Mac does. Could you break that down a little bit for us?
Sure. First and foremost, I just wanted to say hello and thank you so much for having me today. And to everyone that's listening, it's such a pleasure for me to share kind of what we've learned at Freddie Mac in terms of visible and invisible disability. We've been in this space since 2012, and it's a journey, and I'm happy to be able to share that journey with everyone that's listening. But to answer your question, Meg, Freddie Mac was chartered by Congress in 1970 to support the US housing finance system. So we make home ownership and rental housing more accessible and affordable nationwide. Simply put, we make home possible, and that's kind of our tagline.
That is so wonderful. And thank you for clarifying. I would have had no idea that one had to do with student loans and the other one was home finance. So thank you so much.
It's okay.
So when we're talking about making home ownership or making that finding your home possible with Freddie Mac, what role does diversity, equity, and inclusion serve as you try to deliver on that mission?
Yeah, great question. So we have had this long-standing commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We believe that DEI really positions us in terms of advancing our mission of equity in housing. So we actually have a DEI strategic plan that is board approved, and we have that organized in 4 areas: employee diversity, supplier diversity, financial transaction, and engagement and outreach. Each of these pillars have metrics and goals that are tracked, and we share that with our regulator, with our board, with our senior leadership team, and our people. So for employee diversity, we really believe that our workforce should reflect the people that we're chartered to serve. So we attract and sustain a pipeline of employees, diverse employees and candidates by partnering with Power to Fly, Next for Autism, and Disability In. We also have 10 business resource groups, or perhaps some other companies call it employee resource groups. We call it business resource groups. And we have a resource group that's called Abilities that's dedicated to providing leadership in this neurodiversity space. We also have, we include diverse suppliers in our competitive bidding process in our supply diversity pillar. And we actually help develop diverse suppliers, if you will, as part of our signature program, Supplier Academy. And we also engage our employees and our community, local community, by volunteering where we work and live.
That is so wonderful. I'm loving what you're talking about, especially when you mentioned kind of separate programs you have to help out different neurodivergent communities. One of the things that struck me as I was doing a little bit of research prior to today was your Neurodiversity at Work program. Could you expand on that? Share with our audience, what that is and how that works at Freddie Mac.
Sure. We moved into the space, like I said, in 2012, so, almost more than a decade ago, or almost a decade ago, and we believe it is the right thing to do. And it actually started with someone coming to a former colleague, actually shared a story with 2 of our executives at the time, and one of whom actually still works there and is the executive sponsor of our program. And, she was having a hard time supporting her college educated child. And so our executive got together and shared their experiences with children that's on the spectrum and provided support to create that initial program of what we call Autism Intern Initiative. So we've been in this space for quite a bit of time.
That is so amazing. So that prompt, because of what one of your employees had gone through, do you think that was the biggest thing, like kind of the only thing driving this with Freddie Mac, or do you think that there were other factors at play to prompt that commitment to actively supporting your neurodivergent employees?
I think like I said, we believe it's the right thing to do. And oftentimes we are a population that is open to different perspectives, right? And diverse perspectives. So our senior leadership team and kind of everyone involved has just been really committed to this space.
That's wonderful. A question ago, actually, you had touched on the idea of, those BRGs that you have, including, advancing leadership skills for this community. And that's huge, right? Because there can be a lot of times where, especially myself, like I've looked up the ladder, didn't really see anybody like me or see anybody that I knew to be like me.
Right.
And so I think that's really interesting and really important. I love hearing about that.
Yeah, and we really try, we kind of evolved our, like I said, ERGs into BRG space. So we really encourage and we use these teams, if you will, as strategic advantages and to really kind of help develop folks in leadership positions, but also provide allyship, right, for others. So, and really help solve business problems for us as a company.
Yeah. So, all right. So we talked about how, your neurodiversity at work program, or in any case, like the, programming designed to help neurodivergent employees, has been going for 10 years.
Yep.
Can we talk about how you've seen the program evolve over that time?
Sure. So we started as an internship program, if you will. And we have now, I think, really evolved it into what I would consider full-time employment. And, we believe that it is the kind of the right size, if you will, for kind of our company, of our footprint. And it's really focused on that positive experience for the employee, for their teammates, and for the company, if you will, right? And I want to share that most recently, we actually launched a career portal that's fully dedicated to neurodiverse job seekers as part of our work for Neurodiversity at Work Employer Roundtable. So, we continue to kind of be the leading and wanting to learn more about the space and providing the opportunity for neurodiverse candidates.
That is so wonderful. And just, as a personal interest for me, sure. Would you say, when you're talking about your neurodiverse employees, that is, at least now, it's a very large tent, right? There are a lot of people that kind of fit under that umbrella. Have you seen a huge shift in the types of neurodivergencies that y'all either cater to or consider to be part of the program? Has that expanded at all as the program has aged?
I think it all comes down to we recognize that neurodiverse employees may not, like you said, they may be around, right? But they haven't yet self-disclosed, if you will, right? So we don't know if there may be more. And we run, campaigns, and we run to encourage the employees to self-identify so that we can provide the dedicated or resources that's needed, if you will, to support the program. So
that's nice. And I'm sure as the years have gone on, it's gotten a lot easier for people to feel safe in self-identifying. That's honestly, it's true. It's one of the huge kind of catch-22s to having a disorder or a disability, is realizing that like you kind of have to make yourself vulnerable first in order to potentially get the support that you need. And so I love that this is something that is longstanding, and people hopefully don't feel that need to be secretive about it, depending on what, what their team looks like or who their supervisor is, or, all of that stuff. That's wonderful. Yeah. All right. So as we talk about, knowing how many of your employees are neurodivergent, one of the things that we did touch on earlier was how, what that Freddie Mac uses identity first language. I learned people first language from social worker friends, but I want to call that out for people in case maybe you identify a different way than how we're going to talk about it in this chat. Just understand this is the terminology we're going to be using. It is not meant to say that your version or how you prefer to identify is in any way incorrect or inappropriate or whatever. So just putting that ground rule out there for us.
Okay.
So when it comes to trying to identify the neurodivergent employees, at least at this point, do you see it more as, kind of throwing out the support there to see how many people flock to it? Do you think that the population of neurodiverse individuals at Freddie Mac has actually gone up over the years? Or do you maybe see it as kind of increasing along with the change of the times?
I think it's a little bit of all of that, if you will, right? I think any one of us at one point can identify something that's within us that's different, if you will, right? And I think that's kind of the mindset and the openness, if you will, that we just say, hey, we all could be different, right? And knowing that actually that diversity, if you will, within that expansive DEI dimension, if you will, that's actually what helps us unite us in terms of, our differences.
Yeah, I like that. All right, let's go into a little bit more specifics. Now, like we talked about earlier, the tent for neurodivergent people is huge, and it's starting to shift so that people used to think of autism or Asperger's as kind of the only things that were within that tent. And obviously now we know that there are a lot more people with dyslexia. It's huge. So when you're talking about making specific adjustments or accommodations for employees, obviously that can vary wildly from individual to individual, let alone, from population to population. Could you share some examples of what workplace adjustments or accommodations have been made for neurodivergent employees?
Sure. Actually, in our experience, the adjustments are very minimal. And I would say that they are kind of adjustments that are useful for neurotypical employees as well, if you will, in terms of adjustments and accommodations. We provide learning and development for our managers and colleagues, and to be inclusive of neurodiverse employees, right, and their teammates. And since 2020, I want to get the stat right, we've trained more than 450 employees, including hiring managers, in support of neurodiverse employment and also engagement of autistic individuals. We provide support and, leverage the BRG networking for abilities. And we offer flexible and a hybrid work environment, if you will. So, and when you're in the office, we do workspace adjustments such as light dimming and or provide access to quiet areas. And we also do noise canceling headphones. And finally, something that I'm super proud of, because I was actively involved in this, is that we had engaged with an expert in this field and produced our own, what we call inclusive content guide. And we have an area that's dedicated to a section, if you will, dedicated to disabilities.
That is so awesome. And it's really, really cool to hear some of the adjustments you're making, because I can think back on previous jobs. I've only known or been diagnosed with bipolar for a couple of years now. And looking back, like I had ADD or ADHD as we're kind of coming to realize. And looking back on my work history and thinking like, oh my gosh, if I didn't have to listen to my desk buddy be on sales calls all day, like how much more work could I have gotten done if I wasn't constantly trying to like redirect my focus? So I think that's wonderful. And it's great to think about it in those terms, because like you said, for each person, they might need something different, but it doesn't have to be a huge thing. Sometimes those small changes really make all the difference.
Yep, absolutely.
I love that. So you did say, and I apologize for the kind of pop question here, but you had said that some of the adjustments that are made, do benefit non-neurodivergent employees as well. Are there any adjustments that you feel like you appreciate the most? or have seen the most value come out of for the population at large?
I can't, I'll speak for myself from personal experience. I am an introvert, and I get my energy from kind of, being in a quiet space and being able to concentrate. So, having that access to a quiet area or just a room that I could be by myself, that really allows me to just focus. So
Yeah.
I feel that, some of these adjustments really for anybody, right? We're constantly connected, right? I mean, there's the phone, there's the iPad, and then there's the computer, and between, all the multiple hats that we wear, right? I'm a
Oh, and
mom,
email and Slack
right?
and yeah.
Everything, all the roles, multiple hats that we wear. I just feel like sometimes you just need a moment, even if it's 5 minutes, to take a break and have access to that quietness. I think that really just makes a difference. Now, I will say, it is hard to pull myself away to actually do that, right? So it's not only do we have to provide the environment to have the access, but the individuals actually have to, take the step to say, okay, I just need a break and I'm going to go to that quiet area. So that's kind of a personal story that I'll share.
Yeah, I can absolutely, absolutely relate to that. There are plenty of times. I mean, even I work remotely and I'm the only person home all day. And so there are even times where like I'm the only person here and yet I'm like, the dishwasher's making too much noise. I need to move. I need to move to like a super, super quiet area. So yeah, I think that's wonderful. Really great to hear about. All right, so we had talked a little bit earlier about your autism intern program, but let's talk about some of the ways that Freddie Mac has benefited from hiring neurodiverse talent.
Yeah, so we are not immune to kind of what's going on in the labor market right now, right? So, I'm sure you've heard of the term, the Great Resignation. We call it the Great Reflection. Talent is just super hard to find and super competitive, right?
Yeah.
And we believe that instead of approaching this kind of as a challenge, we look at it as an opportunity. And we need the talent and the skills of our neurodiverse people, right? And through the various programs, internship programs, and now looking at, our current initiative, where our neurodiverse employees have proven to us that they're capable, if you will, and that they have the talents and, the smarts, if you will, to help us make our mission of making home possible. So we really believe that this is really an opportunity for us. And more importantly, we really do kind of live and breathe this concept of workforce should reflect the people that we're chartered to serve, right? So programs like this and just help, if you will, kind of the include and help ensure a diverse perspective, right?
Yeah.
And almost anyone, like I said, can identify with the way that we just are different, right? And seeing this, kind of on the dimensions of DEI really just help create this unity within diversity.
I like that. Now, just as a something I was wondering as you were speaking,
Sure.
when it comes to how how the neurodiverse population fits into the various teams that they're working on or whatever, is there any kind of support or extra education provided for, let's say, like the supervisors or the team managers that might be having employees that they've especially if you've never had a neurodiverse employee or
Yep.
been trying to accommodate one, is there any extra support from Freddie Mac for that?
Yeah, so we definitely, provide both training and development for both the manager and the teammates, if you will. And I like to think not of a fit, but of what, different perspectives and different folks can add to the team. So that is something that, we've been talking about quite a bit in terms of just the change in the labor market and just the change in terms of talent and creating team. What different perspectives and what different talents, does someone bring to the team and that to add to the team so that if, we are a better team, if you will.
I like that. We talk about it a lot in terms of like filling a culture gap as opposed or being a culture add to someone.
That's right.
And I think, yeah, that's absolutely huge. I mean, especially when you think about the fact that, we are in a place in time where neurodivergent individuals have a lot less stigma attached to it, I think, than there used to be. And so you want to kind of build off that progress, right? It's one thing to, kind of bring people in the door, but if they don't feel like they actually belong or they're being included in these things, as opposed to just, kind of, yeah, we have a chair for you, but we don't expect you to talk at the meeting kind of thing, right? So I think that's wonderful to hear that not only is it being championed like for each individual employee, but also for the teams at large, so that they are, better able and better equipped to work with people who don't think like they do. And that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
I like that. Yeah. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about, if there's anything else that you would like to share with our audience about Freddie Mac, about your Neurodiversity at Work program. Is there anything that we haven't touched on yet that you cannot let us leave without learning?
Yeah, I will say that, like anything, this is a journey. And I really want to highlight that word, journey, that, we continue to improve and we will continue to evolve, right? And there's definitely more to do. So I don't want to, leave with the thinking that, we've done it all, if you will, right? That's not the case. It is a journey and there's definitely more to do. And I will be remiss to not mention that, we have lots of career opportunities on our career site. So please visit our website at freddiemac.com.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. That's going to bring us about to the end of time today. But the last thing that I wanted to touch on, and this is something that I find, I don't know, I like it as a question to ask people.
Sure.
What is something that nobody ever asks you about this subject that you wish they would?
Oh. I have to
It's a tough
think.
one.
It is a tough one.
Now, while you're thinking, I'm going to encourage our audience members. I know this is all pre-recorded, but we do want to know. So if you are in our audience and you are also within the neurodivergent community and feel comfortable self-disclosing, please feel free to let us know that. If you would prefer, you could also share something that was an accommodation that you either benefited from or really could have used at your previous job. I think that accommodations especially are something that we need to share more about, especially specifics. Because I feel like if people know what other companies are willing to do for their employees or what is really needed, that there would be a lot better communication and interactions as it comes to coming up with adjustments or workarounds or accommodations for various conditions. So I think that's pretty wonderful.
Meg, I think I will have to say, I wish that how can we make it easier and for neurodiverse people to be able to self-identify? Because I think that is kind of the hardest, that's the first step, if you will. And once the environment is one that we're comfortable in, and that's just really hard to, it's a feeling, right? So it's very hard.
That trust, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what is kind of that ideal state, if you will, right? To say someone is comfortable to self-identify, because I think that's the first step. And once you're able to self-identify and once the company is aware, right, then we're able to do the modification, the adjustments, and or make kind of other systemic changes, right? But without knowing, it's just really hard to do. So it's oftentimes at this crossroads between like, how do I make the environment that is welcoming enough, that is, that's open and trust enough that someone can take that first step, right? So I wish that someone can tell us, what is how that can work, right? Because I think that's
communicate that.
Because that's the first step.
Yeah.
But that's a tough question, Meg.
Well, because here's the thing. I get to talk to a lot of people about some amazing topics, and we have great questions, right? Because our audience members write in, oh my gosh, y'all want to know the coolest things. You have the best questions that get sent in. We're so lucky. But yeah, like I'm always interested to find out like what is something that we don't talk about, because you know, as the person we're speaking to, you obviously have more knowledge than I do on this subject. But
Right.
I remember being in positions and thinking like, why does nobody ever ask me about blah, blah, blah? Like this would be a really cool thing to talk about. So thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for kind of rolling with the punches there. I know it's
Yeah.
a bit off the cuff, but thank you so much for that.
Of course.
Now, if people want to, you'd shared the website so people can check out some of the open careers you have.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere people can go to learn more about, you know, the Neurodiversity at Work program or the autism internship thing?
I believe we have that on our website, but I could be wrong about that. So I don't know if I want actually that in there, Meg.
Nope, totally understand. And you know what we'll do? We'll grab some links from you after the chat's over so we can share those with our attendees. But yeah, I think that's absolutely wonderful. Well, Judy, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to be here with us. I really have enjoyed getting a chance to speak with you, and it's so awesome to hear about all of the accommodations and the care and the support that's being provided by a company that is, I mean, it's a big name company. Most people like have heard of Freddie Mac. So I think that that's wonderful to see, not only from like a, you know, a large, a company with a very large footprint, but also somebody who's in that government space, you know, really making sure that we are driving these things forward, not just in the private sector, but also as far as government agencies go. So I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. All right, we are going to go to our next session, but just hang tight and we will flip over to our next session in just a few minutes. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.